How did you hear about no-till planting?
Wow. How did we hear about no-till planting? This is an evolution that's been going on for a long time. 50 years ago, the focus on agriculture was efficiency. And boy, did we do a heck of a job. 3,000 acres.
Marie Audet and her family operate one of the largest dairy farms in Vermont, Blue Spruce Farm in Bridport. They milk 1,500 cows and manage 3,000 acres of cropland. Always looking to innovate and improve, the Audets are planting 40% of this year's corn crop using a practice called no-till. If it doesn't look like much, you're starting to catch on.
Erosion is the biggest culprit that is affecting our soil health. It's also the biggest culprit that's bringing phosphorus and other sediments into the waterways. So if we can resolve the issue of erosion on our farms and across the state and every piece of land, we will resolve the water quality issues. No-till is basically not tilling the soil or tilling it less. So if your soil is staying put, the nutrients are staying put.
When a field is tilled, the soil is disturbed. Tilling ensures good seed-to-soil contact, but it also fractures the soil structure and makes it more susceptible to erosion and nutrient runoff. No-till equipment cuts a thin slit in the soil in order to plant seeds and leaves the rest of the ground undisturbed. With increased pressure from regulatory agencies on farmers to reduce phosphorus coming off their land, the practice of no-till planting is gaining acceptance.
We have long prided ourselves on being the very best stewards of our land. And like every other business, every other industry, it evolves. The science evolves, information knowledge evolves. And the practices that we used to take 50 years ago aren't sustainable. And we don't farm the way we did then.
You don't even farm the same way you did 10 years ago.
You're right.
You couldn't.
In 5 years, we've made so many changes. It's phenomenal. Who says you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
Seen side by side, the differences between a no-till field and a conventionally tilled field are striking. And it's not only farmers who are noticing.
Farmers are getting questions from their neighbors about, oh, did you not plant any corn this year? Or, why is that hayfield dead and you're not doing anything with it? So now that the corn is growing, I think those questions will be answered. But yes.
Kirsten Workman is a University of Vermont Extension agronomist. For the past few years, she's been testing reduced tillage practices to help farmers transition to no-till planting.
There's been a lot of attention put on reducing tillage because reducing tillage typically means reducing erosion. And with all the water quality issues that we've been seeing in Lake Champlain, it's been pretty clear that we need to reduce erosion so we can reduce nutrients and sediments from going into the lake. And by stopping tilling, that's a really great way to do that.
In addition to research, Workman and her colleagues host an annual no-till and cover crop symposium.
We have to go towards no-till.
One of the featured speakers at this year's conference was Odette Menard from the Quebec Ministry of Agriculture. In her talk, she urged farmers to rely less on what's worked in the past and focus more on what's happening today.
If we have to reinvent the system, we should be studying this new system and not always comparing it to something that was working 100 years ago. The new system, it has to live with the new reality. And the new reality is we have to look at the soil from a very different point of view. And therefore, I think that when we talk about water quality, we should always look at it from a different point of view also. How is it that we can manage the water, the agricultural system, to make more out of it?
Even though more Vermont farmers are embracing no-till practices, that doesn't mean they're used to them.
The no-till fields, they don't look as clean and shiny. That's where we have to rely on the science. We have to get past, we've done it this way, it's how we've always done it. My dad has been driving around, he was a farmer his whole life, and he's in his 80s now, and he's noticing this shift. But he's proud of us. He's proud that we can evolve into something different.
Besides its look, another difference of a no-till field can be in how much feed it yields, and that's something workmen on our debt will keep a close eye on throughout the season.
What we are seeing in Vermont is you may not see a huge yield bump right away. We hope you don't see a big yield drop. We're trying to avoid that on the bottom end. What we're finding is that our no-till fields are just much more consistent. So when it's dry, they don't see drought stress. When it's sopping wet and we get 20 inches of rain in June, they seem to deal with that situation better. So we're starting to hear farmers say the soil is functioning better, it infiltrates water better, and it also drains better, but also holds on to soil moisture better when you need it. And so that's why we start to see just more of an even keel crop with less of those ups and downs, and that's what we really want.
Yield is important to us. And we don't know yet, we're still measuring it out. So we're still hoping we're going to find that happy place where we can do the more and more no-till and low-till and be happier with the quality and be happy with the yield as well, because the feed is critical to our success. Every year Mother Nature's going to throw something at us that we're not ready for. It's not going to be a 100% success story every year, but it's definitely a trajectory. We're headed in that direction.
Even if it takes some getting used to, no-till is here to stay in Vermont. And before long, what the neighbors might be asking is why a farmer's field looks so clean. In Bridport, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.